Fort Worth is worth it. Fort Worth, as you know, is growing quickly. The 12th largest city and anticipated to bring phenomenal growth in the years ahead. We do not have time to just try and react to what is taking place when it comes to the needs of life and families. We must be proactive in meeting the changing needs of our wonderful city. The Fort Worth Pregnancy Center is centered in a fast-changing area of town, strategically placed there years before this moment as well, so that they were ready to meet the needs of the day. In 1994, Travis Avenue Baptist commissioned a task force to look at ways that the city could be helped and reached through our community. From that task force, the recognition of a need for a pregnancy center on the south side of town was birthed. And from there, individuals stepped forth to begin the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center. In 1996, the Pregnancy Center opened its doors on Bluebonnet Circle, just south of the TCU campus. And that first year, the center served 8 clients. In 2009, the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center relocated by purchasing and renovating the building on Cleburne Road, more than doubling capacities for service. And this year, to date, the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center has served 947 unique clients this year alone so far. Today, the Pregnancy Center, their mission remains the same, but the culture of abortion has radically changed. Tonight, you're going to hear stories, real stories of people from the Pregnancy Center and how they are reaching into darkness, empowering women and families to choose life. Tonight, we are using the phrase worth it to highlight Fort Worth. Worth it, worth, Fort Worth. Everybody get it? Good, good. We're using that to focus on what God has called us to do right here in our city. This event is a fundraiser. In case that is a surprise to you, now you know. At the end of the evening in our program, you're going to have a chance to respond through giving, generous giving. Specific giving opportunities and needs are going to be highlighted throughout this program. And as you hear the work that the Lord is doing, we would ask that you would prayerfully consider how the Lord would lead you to partner with the center financially in this life-saving ministry, so that 20 years from now, 30 years from now, we would stand and see what God has done. So let's start by listening to some real clients share why choosing life for their little one was worth it.
When I first found out I was pregnant, I was actually not really too happy about it, to be honest, because she was unplanned. When I found out I was pregnant with Miguel, I felt terrified. I was only 22.
When I found out I was pregnant, I was a bit excited and scared at the same time. I was really scared and nervous because I was only 16. One of my challenges when I found out I was pregnant was how was I going to my periods, how was I going to support myself. I had to find ways to finish school first.
I went to the pregnancy center, as a matter of fact, and I was very confused and I was looking for options. And when I spoke with the people there, I had them pray for me. And I think that completely shifted my perspective.
At the time, I didn't know what decision I wanted to make. Going to the center really helped, just hearing me out and not judging my situation or where I was at in my life. And I think that helped me decide what I wanted to do with this pregnancy.
I felt like what I didn't find within myself, I found within the center, with a lot of people letting me know that I was capable of more than I thought for myself.
I think it was all worth it.
For me, this baby was a blessing in disguise, and I'm happy now with my girls, and I thank the center for that, I really do.
With Gabriel, I don't feel as alone anymore, and he's just like a little best friend. It's really been worth it.
2 years down the road now with Miguel, I feel everything's worth it. I feel like if I would have chose my other options, like giving him away or abortion, like I wouldn't have that feeling in my heart like I'm missing something. But now, like I feel complete with Miguel.
I think God's plan is always worth it, and she was part of God's plan.
I feel like I've grown so much as a person, and I can't see how my life was before my baby. I love him so much. The second I saw my son, in that very moment, I looked at his little face and I knew it was worth it. When you're pregnant, nothing makes sense, but when you see your baby, it all makes sense.
One of my favorite quotes from there is, God's plan is always worth it, meaning it's not always easy, but it's worth it. What an incredible thought. I want us to welcome to the stage Jamie Bryant, the development director of the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center. She's going to share with us some of the challenges that women who are seeking abortion are experiencing and how the Pregnancy Center is here to help. Would you make welcome Jamie to the stage?
You know, as I got here and I was mingling around and talking to different people that I've gotten to know over the last 7 years at the center, it occurred to me that the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center is not a building, it's not a 501c3, it's not an organization. It's made up of a lot of the people in this room. The people that give generously every day so that we can open our doors to provide hope. Those who volunteer to come to the center for 3 or 4 hours and listen to women and men tell really hard and difficult stories and come in with really big challenges, and they don't even get paid for that. They choose to do that, right? The staff, all the people that have volunteered services here, from photography to videography to so many different things. The board members who put in hours and hours of work and thought into this organization, again, with no compensation to them. So I just wanted to say thank you for everyone that's here, including the people that I don't recognize, the people that, you know, dedicated their Friday night to come listen to speeches and be asked for money. Only God can spur that kind of movement to fill a room like this. I have to start out tonight a little bit by giving you the bad news, and then we'll get into the good news later. You know, when the Dobbs decision was passed, I think a lot of people celebrated, and now here we are a couple years later, and we can see kind of where all the chips have fallen. You know, I don't want to give away my age for those of you who think I'm in my 20s, but I remember when Bill Clinton said that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. And we live in such a different culture from that today. Today's mantra is that abortion should happen at any cost. And as we're going to see, the cost is enormous. In my 7 years at the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center, I have witnessed a seismic shift in the landscape of abortion right here in Fort Worth. And unfortunately, none of it has been good. Abortion is no longer stigmatized. It's actually celebrated in our culture with campaigns like Shout Your Abortion. We just continue to witness the degradation of the culture and the devaluing of human life. I don't know about you, but when I hear the media talk about abortion stories nowadays, like the baby's not even in the equation. Even the local Spanish-speaking community here in Fort Worth, the immigrant community, used to be fiercely pro-life. We never had, I want to say never. My first year there 7 years ago, we had 2 clients come in that were Spanish speakers that were looking into ending their pregnancies. And this year so far, the number has been 130. There's been a really big shift in the Latin American immigrant community in terms of the views that they hold. So what does the abortion landscape look like for a woman in Fort Worth today? Unfortunately, the Dobbs decision and the Texas law did not have the impact that many people would have hoped, in the sense that abortion is still happening in Fort Worth today, every day, and unfortunately it's cheaper and easier than it's ever been. So let's go through a little thought experiment. Picture a neighbor of yours. We're gonna call her Maria. Let's say Maria finds out that she is unexpectedly pregnant. She sees those 2 pink lines on the test and she is devastated. Maria is 16 years old. She just started seeing the guy that got her pregnant. She is scared to death of how her parents are going to react, and she doesn't know what she's going to do, but it seems like abortion is her only wise choice at that point. So she's going to immediately get out her phone and search for abortion near me. And what's going to come up are going to be the same listings that she would have seen before Dobbs in terms of local abortion clinics, except for they no longer provide abortion, but they will help you get one. Unfortunately, in a post-Dobbs world, she's going to see something new. She is going to see dozens and dozens of listings for out-of-state clinics that provide abortion that are now investing their advertising dollars right here in Fort Worth to capture this community. So you're going to have clinics in Kansas and Colorado and Nevada and California, all these surrounding states, advertising in our market. And as the one in charge of our advertising, it's frustrating because our costs have tripled with this influx of advertisers. Many of these out-of-state clinics are going to offer to mail her pills directly after a short telehealth visit. But the sad reality is, she doesn't even need a telehealth visit. She doesn't need to talk to anyone because abortion pills are now available online at the click of a mouse. For the low, low price of $29, Maria can make the decision by herself to end her pregnancy. I wanted to know exactly how easy and how dangerous this process is of DIY abortion, how easy and dangerous it is for our clients. So I did a little experiment and I went through the process of ordering pills. And so within 5 minutes on the internet of searching pills by mail, I found a website that would sell me the pills. I never talked to anybody. There actually wasn't even information on the website of like how to take them and what's normal and when to seek medical care, what to expect. And about 5 days later, I had this in my mailbox. And when I filled out the form, I said that I was 12 weeks pregnant and that I was 16 years old. Just so you know, the FDA actually only approves abortion pills up to 10 weeks because the complication rates go way up after 10 weeks. So this is what I get in the mail. And nothing in here, absolutely nothing in the packet except for 5 pills. Like I said, no instructions on how to take them, what's going to happen, what to know. Now imagine Maria has gone through that process, this 16-year-old child, and she may even be more than 12 weeks. I mean, teenagers aren't great at responsibly tracking their periods, right? And she's going to be alone in her bathroom for days or weeks with heavy bleeding and severe cramping, with no one even looking out for her. She may be vomiting, she may pass out, she may hemorrhage. She may be part of the 30% of women that have complications with the abortion pill at 13 weeks or later. But again, no one's looking out for her. No one's even talked to her. Her life is in danger. That is the physical price of abortion at any cost. What's the mental, what's the emotional cost for her 13 weeks, she's going to pass a baby about this size, about that size, probably into her toilet. Maybe it's too large to flush. Maybe she's going to have to fish it out. We have gotten those phone calls from clients. What do I do with this? No one prepared her for that. No one told her this is what's going to happen. They told her, pills, easy, swallow, it'll be just like a heavy period. It's just a clump of tissue. What kind of emotional scars is she going to carry from this? What's the emotional price of abortion at any cost? What's the spiritual price of abortion at any cost? What kind of shame and guilt is she feeling? Is she going to be like Adam and Eve in the garden and hide from her Creator? The only one who can give her restoration from what she's gone through? As I said, the price for abortion at any cost is huge. But now that I've depressed you all quite a bit, let me give you some hope. Because those of us in this room are not being called tonight to fix our broken culture or to straighten out the media or to battle legislatures or black market pill vendors. We are being called to shine a light in Fort Worth. We are being called to love our neighbor here in Fort Worth, to be the hands and feet of Jesus here in Fort Worth. And there is another listing that Maria is going to see as she does her Google searching, and that's the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center. And this is one of our biggest expenses. I mentioned the costs have gone up because of all the clinics in other states and the pill vendors advertising. Right now, we spend just under $4,000 a month on Google ads, but the costs have increased so much in the past year. Our ad agency is saying that in order to fill the 60-plus appointments we have every week available for at-risk clients, we're looking at $10,000 to $12,000 a month. And that's just happened in the last year with the influx of all these advertising. But what is the price of not reaching her, right? Because when she clicks on this ad, she's not going to be given pills and told good luck and sent on her way. She's going to be given hope. She's going to be given truth. And she's going to be given real solutions to help her, not just to choose life for her baby, but to thrive. So I would like to invite our nurse manager, Paula, to the stage. She's going to tell you just a little bit about what she's experiencing with clients.
Hi. So as a nurse, I'm invited to the rooms to speak to our clients regarding the questions that they have, anywhere from cramping, pregnancy, sonogram, abortion, and even a few on adoption. Many times I'm asked, where can I get my pills? And I tell them, we don't refer them, we don't offer the pills. They need to go out and do their own research and go find the pills. Each week we call, and I'm talking about myself and my medical team, which is another nurse, and 3 sonographers that we have. Each week we call and we speak to the clients after they've had a sonogram. We go over what the doctor has told us. When we're calling them, this is after we've educated all the girls, they've seen abortion videos. Many times I still hear when I call them is, I did it. And I just received my pills in the mail, or I went out of state. At that point, I tell the girl that I'm there for them and I want to help them and love them through this situation. So I'm going to tell you 2 stories, the only 2 stories. I called Amanda one day. She had had a sonogram and she was real strong abortion-minded. And when she answered her phone, I could tell that she wasn't right, that something was going on. So I said, hey, Amanda, this is Paula. I just want to know what's going on. How are you doing? And she said, I'm not good. And I said, okay. And she started to cry. And she said, I'm so sorry I did it. And I said, okay. And I said, what can we do for you? What's going on? And she said that she had just passed, well, a couple days before, she had passed something into the toilet. It was very thick. And when she looked and saw it, she saw the baby. So there she totally fell apart on the phone with me. And I said, what did you do? And she said, I didn't know what to do, so I flushed the toilet. Which is amazing that this size of a baby would be flushed down the toilet. And she kept saying that she's having so much pain and bleeding and didn't know what to do. I told her to call the abortion clinic and ask them what to do first. But then I said, please go to the hospital. I want you to be seen. At that point, you could tell she started crying again. And I said, Amanda, I want you to go to the hospital. And she said, I can't. And I said, why can't you go to the hospital? And she said, because I'll be put in jail. I said, no, you won't. And she said, yes, for doing an abortion in Texas, I'll be put in jail. And I said, no, 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 no. I said, that's for the doctors. They cannot do abortions. I said, but you had gone out of state, you got the pills, you took the pills, and even though you came back to Texas, you will not be. So I said, I really want you to go to the hospital. So she said she would. And I said, can I call you tomorrow and check in and see how you're doing? When we spoke in the morning, she said that the hospital was really nice and they treated her very good. She said when she called the clinic, the abortion clinic, they told her that she was almost through with the abortion and that there was really no need for her to go to the hospital because it was almost over, and that she would be fine. And she said, no, I'm not okay. And the abortion clinic then came up with, usually the abortions aren't that painful. And so they said, I guess you should be seen at the hospital. So I called Amanda the next morning, we were talking, and she thanked me for loving her and checking in on her. Since then, we've had 2 more conversations. Amanda has told all her friends to not have an abortion, as they were horrible, and she wished she had never done that. Another story was Yolanda. When I called to discuss Yolanda's sonogram, she told me that she had just received her pills in the mail. Yolanda said that she took the pills 5 days ago. I asked how she was feeling, and she said she was still bleeding really heavily, hurting, and feeling really weak because she couldn't eat or drink for those past 5 days. And she said, what should I do? And I said, I need you to go to the hospital. I want you to tell them up front what's going on so they know where to immediately start giving you the care. And I asked, and she had not been able to even drink for 5 days. I said, is there anybody that can go with you to the hospital because you can't drive yourself? And she said, yes. So I said, go to the hospital and I'll call you in the morning and check on you. So the next morning when I called her, she sounded much better. She said she had been in the hospital for 12 hours. They gave her IVs and they gave her medicine for the nausea. She said that she was still very weak, but that she was thankful that we called, that we cared, that we loved her through this time. She couldn't believe that I would call and care for her because she had had an abortion. And I said, I'm here for you. If you need it, you can come in, I can meet you, we can talk on the phone or whatever. And she said that she'll never have that happen again. So those are only 2 stories. I could tell you different stories every week we get them. These poor girls really, like Jamie said, have no clue of what their body is going to go through. We show them the video, but they still don't realize how bad it's going to be. So then we get to do sonograms a lot, and we'll do some repeat sonograms. If we didn't see something the first time because the mom wasn't far enough, we just couldn't see everything, or if the father of the baby wasn't able to be at the sonogram, we'll do another sonogram for them. And we do that just so we can touch them again, just so we can hopefully save a baby's life. And so I just want you to let you know again, we have 3 amazing, very amazing sonographers. 2 of them are here tonight, one's out of town, but they like to speak life to our clients and love our clients, and they love to show the babies off. By showing the babies off, they show them the arms, the legs, and then we all get to listen to the heartbeat. A lot of times, the moms will break at the listening to the heartbeat, which totally touches me. I mean, I just cry with them. But you know what? That tells me that their heart was touched during listening to that heartbeat. And so then we just pray for them. It's like, and after the sonogram, we'll talk to them and say, did that change your mind? And some of the times it does, but not every time. Some moms are so cold and say, yeah, but I'm still going to abort. And it's like, okay, can we talk to you later? And they'll say, yes, you can call me later. Some of them allow us to call them, and some of them ghost us. So I'm kind of a little hard person. I don't mind calling them back several times just to check in with them and see how they're doing. But anyway, so that's two of my stories, and I just want to tell you thank you for being here tonight, thank you for listening to us, and thank you for giving deep from your pockets so that we can continue to work with these patients, clients, I'm an old labor nurse, sorry, clients, and to save babies. So thank you.
Just 1 second here. When I found out that I was going to be doing Cindy's portion of the program on Wednesday, my first thought was, but the thoughts I had after that gave me a lot of peace. Two things. One, I love talking about what the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center does. It is, yeah. Matter of fact, my favorite part of my job is when I get to give tours. And especially if I make them cry. Yeah. So get your tissues ready. Again, I just want to thank you for being here tonight, for believing that these moms and these dads and these babies are worth it, for caring about what happens in Fort Worth. Fort Worth is really special to me because I'm a Californian refugee, and I found refuge in Fort Worth. It's where I met my husband and started my family. And I don't know about you, but when I see what's going on and how they're preying on these women in Fort Worth, these vulnerable women, and of course the little tiny Fort Worthians that need a chance to love and be loved, I think not in my city. And so that's why we're here today. On your tables are photographs. The cool thing is that all of them have photography that was taken by local professional photographers that support the center and what we do and wanted to donate their photographs of iconic pieces of Fort Worth. And mixed in there's some of the babies from the photo shoot that we do in the spring, which is my favorite day. You can see some of them on this stage here too. These are all moms who came to us considering or heavily leaning towards abortion and chose life, and I get to interview them on the other side and get their pictures taken, and it's the most fun day ever. But they're there to remind you that this is what we are fighting for families in Fort Worth that are facing a pregnancy that feels like a crisis and need real hope and help, and for God's tiniest image bearers who need a voice, right? As Proverbs 31 says, I think it is. We're going to be a voice for the voiceless tonight. So tonight, you're going to have the opportunity to partner with us in reaching Fort Worth and reaching into this darkness and shining the light of Jesus and the light of hope and the light of the fact that there is a whole room full of people right here that are ready and willing to support moms and dads who find themselves with an unplanned pregnancy in really difficult situations and do the hard work of walking with them. The poor AV team, I'm not even following Cindy's notes. So you're going to have later the chance to partner with us in two different ways. One is going to be by making a special gift tonight of what you can do and what the Lord is leading you to do. And you'll hear me talk a little bit about some different things that the Pregnancy Center does and the costs associated with those things. And then we're also going to talk about what it means to be a life sustainer. And I think we had there we go. The definition of a sustainer, I love this. A sustainer is a person that upholds or maintains something. And that's what the people do that are our life sustainers, that give recurring gifts every month or every quarter, because that allows us to have a foundation to everything we do. It allows us to plan. It allows us to hire. It allows us to plan for growth at the center. And so whether you're becoming a life sustainer first time, or maybe you are one and you're going to increase your recurring gift, you are the foundation of everything that happens at the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center. And I'm going to tell you in a little bit, too, about an exciting match challenge we have related to that. But for now, I want to give you a little peek inside what happens at the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center. What happens to a girl like Maria when she clicks on our ad. You know, Tarrant County, as Ben mentioned, is absolutely exploding right now. And as the number of people living in Fort Worth goes up, have a slide on that. Oh no, it's me, I'm skipping around. Let me share our mission with you. It's simple. We want to empower women and men facing unplanned pregnancy to make positive decisions about that pregnancy. So what is a positive decision? Well, there's a few of them, right? There's choosing life for their child, which is, for many, looks like parenting. And for some, placing a child for adoption is the most loving choice. And so we do a lot of education on adoption and the options there. A positive decision can be a change in terms of God's design for sexuality. A really big one, positive decision, since we share the gospel with all of our clients, is when they actually not just choose life, but they choose abundant life. And so those are the positive decisions that we're supporting. And so as I was saying, as Tarrant County grows, the number of women and men facing unplanned pregnancies continues to grow as well. And we have an estimate for Tarrant County, it's about 1,500 a month. So there's a big need here. And as we circle back to Maria and we kind of pick up with her, having just seen that positive test and picking up her phone and starting to Google, the first thing we have to do is reach her. We have to rise above the noise of all the pro-abortion messages she's going to see and results that are going to come up on her search, telling her that she can get unpregnant if she just takes some pills. These people in abortion clinics or pill vendors will profit off of her decision, but they're not going to transform her circumstances, right? They're just going to sell her some pills and send her right back to the life that made this pregnancy feel like a crisis. But we're going to do the hard work because we think she's worth it. And so in order to reach her, we got to be high up in Google. She's probably going to click on our Google reviews, which I'm proud to say are better than Chick-fil-A. It's true. But there are just dozens and dozens, I mean, I don't know, about 150 or so reviews on there of women talking about the non-judgmental, compassionate care that they received at the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center. And so women will call us and go, no, I read your reviews, I want to go there. I don't want to go to a different place. But it's also very expensive to reach her, as you've heard me reiterating over and over again, because this is a large and growing cost, and it is the crux of us being able to do everything else we do. I have some slides that go over the cost there. Yeah, so we've done the calculations. $22 just to have her reach out to us to get some information, right? $27 per at-risk a client that actually books an appointment with us, and then $45 for an appointment actually attended, because we have a fair amount of no-shows just because of the clientele that we serve. So as you're thinking about your gift tonight, you know, this is what you're funding here, is the ability to reach her. And the next slide kind of breaks down for you just some examples as you might start to think about how God is leading you, of what's the impact of the investment that you're making in terms of number of women in the door. I don't know, there's not a lot of businesses that spend thousands and thousands of dollars a month trying to reach clients so they can come in and give us no money. but that is what we're doing, right? We want to help, and that's why everyone is in here. So let's go back to Maria for a second. She sees our ad, she clicks on us, she calls us, or she texts us, and she says, I'm pregnant, I want to have an abortion, can you help me? And what we say to her is, abortion services are not allowed in Texas in the sense that no one is allowed to provide them, okay? But the service that we do provide for clients that are considering that is we can go over all of your options, help you understand what they are, what to expect, get your questions answered, and importantly, we're going to medically evaluate your pregnancy. So you can find out exactly how far along you are, if this pregnancy is even viable. We're screening for health risks like ectopic pregnancy, and then we can just talk through your options and help you arrange your thoughts. We make it very clear that we do not provide abortion. We don't do abortion referrals, but at the same time, we want her to understand why our services are of value to her, right? So she arrives for her appointment. She's probably nervous. She doesn't know what to expect. She's usually afraid of being judged. And from the moment she walks in the door, we hope she feels the love of Jesus. Our receptionist, Patty, is amazing at just making women feel welcomed from the second they walk in the door. And then she's going to go back with an advocate and get to talk and have somebody really listen to her and understand her concerns and her challenges and help her actually address those concerns and those challenges. We're going to give her truth on abortion, what it is, what to expect, what do you actually go through. It's amazing to me how many women come into our center considering abortion, and then you talk to them and like they don't even understand what happens during an abortion, let alone what's going to happen to their body. And so we're able to give them information. They can speak with our nurses. They can speak with our medical staff. We want her to make a fully informed decision, and we want her to feel valued and heard and cared for at the center. So Maria's come in. She's gotten all the information that we have for her, all the hope, all the resources she didn't know existed. Her problems haven't disappeared, but hopefully she's starting to understand that she's not actually alone. And that leads us to something really cool that God has done over the last couple years, which is helping us to reach the fathers of the babies. I love this slide. So in 2022, we served 14 fathers of the babies with their own counseling appointments, man on man. This year, so far, we are at 157, I believe. That was all God, y'all. These men started showing up at the center being like, I want to volunteer to counsel men. That does not happen. Men are like, pregnancy, that's a chick thing. That's not, I don't want to do that. So we knew that the Lord was leading this and making this happen because he knows that the dad is going to set the trajectory for that family. You know what happens when the dad gets saved and starts going to church? That whole family gets transformed, right? But also this man and this woman in their point of crisis, this is literally a life and death decision that they're making. And sometimes they're not even talking to each other, right? And we're facilitating those conversations because this is a really big decision that's going to have an impact on both of them. I know there's people in this room right now that have been impacted by abortion, both men and women. Went through it, know someone that went through it, carries the scars. Maybe it's a guy where you didn't have a choice in the matter. Maybe some of you here have adopted children and are so thankful that their moms chose life. This involves all of us, okay? This isn't just a woman's issue. This isn't everybody's issue. So what's our most powerful resource that Paula hinted on is sonography. Why? It's a window into the womb. It dispels myths about what it is or isn't in that womb. And it's the first bonding moment between a mom and her baby. My favorite client quote of all time comes from a sonogram. We had a young woman, I remember, because she was like what we would classify as abortion determined when she came in. She was like, my mind is made up. I don't want to discuss any other options. This is what I'm doing. But again, she agreed to a sonogram because she wants to confirm how far along she is and her pregnancy is viable. So I was in there for that sonogram as a witness, and she was very quiet throughout the sonogram. I think I remember she was about 10 and a half weeks along, so she saw quite a bit with her sonogram. And she got done, and the sonographer asked her, like, how are you feeling? And she looks up at the sonographer and goes, well, I guess I can't have an abortion anymore. I just fell in love. I was like, hang on, let me write that down. That's really good. So matter of fact, I am going to take a very brief pause and let you hear from one of our sonographers on video, just explaining the power of sonography.
When a client comes into my room for an ultrasound, we make sure we get a good idea of, what's going on in her life. We have a conversation of what she's thinking for this pregnancy and what dad or father of the baby is thinking for this pregnancy as well. And then we'll do an ultrasound and we'll make sure that baby's in the right place in her uterus, and we'll begin doing measurements and get a good idea of how far along she is. We often see fingers and toes and legs. You can definitely see a little head there, and we're able to see that heart just beating away and legs kicking if she's further along. We often see eyes light up and often tears. They don't expect to see a moving baby or a baby looking structure in their womb yet. It's really, really sweet that they see that heart just fluttering and they light up. It's a true bond already formed. The client and father of the baby often see it as a life at that point.
And when I heard the heartbeat, I just cried. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a baby.
To hear the heartbeat and to see the baby, at that point we decided to keep the child.
As soon as I got the sonogram, I was like, I'm not terminating. Like, I just fell in love with my baby. And as soon as I heard the heartbeat, my heart just melted.
When we do an ultrasound, we walk mom through, how far along she is. These diagrams and these models make it more tangible. They can see the details that are already formed. We remind her that baby is doubling in size each week, that there's so much already developed and there's so much detail there that we just can't see on ultrasound sometimes. And this is a tangible way for her to hold her baby and see that this is her real life and she can one day hold this baby.
Looking at the miniature figurine of the scale of life, it really hit home that, oh my gosh, there's a miracle literally growing inside of my womb.
They come in and, they're thinking of abortion, or they don't have their mind made up, but they don't know what that really means oftentimes. They don't know the impact of that decision is. Ultrasound provides a sweet view in the womb. It shows a new perspective. Mom feels the symptoms, but she can't connect that this is for a purpose. And I think the Lord has innately put in us that we are to have a bond with our baby. And you can just see that through ultrasound, that she sees this is her baby and that these symptoms are worth it and making her feel this way for a purpose. And ultrasound makes this life more real to them, that they can see that this is a life. This is not just a decision.
Yeah, the sonography room is by far my favorite room in the center, and the room where the most hearts change. And it takes about $250 a day to have that sonography room running with the equipment and the sonographers and the nurses. So to fund a full month of sonography is about $5,000. It is definitely worth every penny, though. After seeing the sonogram, Maria gets to actually start bonding with her baby. It's real to her. It's not just lines on a pregnancy test. And so she's going to choose life, but more than that, she's going to be supported, because we don't just want our clients to choose life. We want them to thrive as parents. We want their babies to thrive. We want them to have every tool and resource that they need for a healthy pregnancy and a healthy journey into parenthood. We actually want to empower her. Maria's decision for life was brave, and now it's on us to come alongside of her. Part of that means pointing her to the truth source of life transformation. So every single one of our clients is offered spiritual support and a spiritual conversation. We don't push that on somebody if they don't want it, right? But it's cool to see the Lord soften hearts over time as we work with these clients. I heard a pastor tell me once that, we're the EMTs and the church is the hospital. So we're doing that triage, and then we're trying to connect them to where they can actually grow and get discipled. And then we're walking alongside them with physical resources as well. 70% of women that choose abortion say it was because of financial reasons. That breaks my heart. No woman should be making a decision about her child based on what's in her bank account and not what's in her heart. When there are people like those in this room who are willing to say, what do you need? We got you covered. So Maria's going to start taking our prenatal classes and parenting classes so she can feel equipped and prepared. She's going to earn points for doing that she's going to spend in our baby boutique, which is beautiful and stocked with all brand new items and looks like a little store. You probably can't see the pictures very well, but y'all need to come by for a tour if you've never been. Because when she walks in that room, what she sees is hope and nice things, and that she can do this, and she's going to have all the items that she needs to be able to say yes to her baby. Maria didn't have any other voices in her life saying, you can do this, until she walked in our front doors. That's what your gifts tonight are enabling, is for her to be able to walk in those front doors and hear, you can do this, and we're going to do it with you. The other thing that we're going to do is throw her a giant baby shower. I love seeing the shock on our clients' faces when they have baby showers. I don't know what they're expecting, but it's not what they get. Here's your stroller and your car seat and all the things your baby will need for the first 12 years of its life. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but they're pretty huge. And we have, churches and groups and Bible studies that sponsor those and just love on these women. And it's so fun. But it's also where we get to kind of put our money where our mouth is in terms of being pro-life. And not just saying, choose life, that's the right thing to do, but saying, I've got you. We've got you. We're going to be here with you through this and make sure you have what you need and you're not alone. So imagine Maria again, that first moment that she's staring at the positive pregnancy test and absolutely freaking out inside that there's these two different paths she can travel. One where she clicks on the ad for the online pills and everything that could happen down that road and where that leaves her. Which, by the way, even if that does happen, and as Paula mentioned, sometimes it does, we offer post-abortion recovery for women. Women that are just walking around with open wounds, maybe even from an abortion they had 10 years ago, and we want to connect them to the healing and forgiveness found in Jesus Christ. But let's say that Maria clicks on our ad, okay? And that's going to make all of the difference in the world for her, because she's going to come in, she's going to be empowered, she's going to be supported. She's going to have people in her life that genuinely care for her, and she's going to be able to feel that. People can tell if you're faking, right? Our clients know that we actually care about them. Sometimes when they're teenagers, we're like doing role play with them on how to tell your parents you're pregnant. But I mean, 16-year-old little Maria thought her life was over. And because she clicked on the ad for the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center and came to see us, and because people like you came to a dinner on a Friday night and cared enough to say that Maria is worth it and her baby is worth it, she's going to get much more than $29 pills off the internet. She's going to get hope, and her baby is going to get life. So, before I get to the part where I ask you all for money, I just want to point one more time to the centerpieces. There's one more thing on there, which is the onesies. They're there to remind you that each client that we help is really two clients, right? It's the women, or sometimes three, right? The dad too. But it's also the unseen client, this unique human being that has never existed before and will never exist again, that was created by God on purpose and for a purpose, and that we are here to be a voice for those little ones. So before we get to the last part, I just wanted you to hear from a few other voices of the center on a video. These are board members, these are donors, these are staff members talking about why this ministry is worth it to them.
What drew me to get involved with the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center is the opportunity to have spiritual conversations with our clients, the chance to really make a deep impact upon their lives beyond their pregnancy decision.
Getting involved with the center was really more about getting involved with the unborn and the problem that we have right now in our society with the unborn not having value.
Hearing medical professionals promote something that is not true to a woman's well-being, I want to step in and give that truth to women.
We want them to think about what they're seeing, and it's real, it's a baby, there's a heartbeat, and just connecting the humanity to the situation versus it just being what the world would like them to believe, being a clump of cells.
I was sitting in a sermon. A pastor was talking about life, and he said, what would it be like if in years from now, your grandkids ask you, what were you doing to help with this fight against abortion?
I hear stories about the father and the mother coming in, they don't know what to do, and yet I hear how the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center just comes alongside of them.
The things that stand out being involved in the center is just the love and the lack of judgment that every person involved has for every person that interfaces with the center.
What happens to the women that have had abortion in their past already? We're able to offer a service that helps them get healing from that.
The way that they care so much for the whole family. Obviously, the baby's life is so important, but it also is important to be able to empower the moms and the dads to choose life.
The men are the most influential voice in this pregnancy decision. So many studies have been done in which they found that when there is a father in their home, the children are healthier and they're more likely to succeed.
To have an opportunity to come alongside those men and offer them some hope and some information about the pregnancy and being a father, but also share Christ with them along the way as well.
Who doesn't want to give someone hope? And that's what we offer here, a vision and hope of what can be done and how an unplanned pregnancy can in fact be life.
It's beautiful to see that we get every opportunity to pray over every single mom that comes through our doors. The most beautiful way we could be as a support to someone is being for them as a friend.
They're not in this alone. We're helping provide for almost everything that that baby will ever need. It's so satisfying just to see the end result.
The stakes are so high as far as what matters in saving lives and supporting families and reaching out to these moms with unplanned pregnancies. I just feel like I can't not be involved in.
Being there for these clients is not only the mission of the pregnancy center, but
my personal mission. So I feel like it's worth it 100%. The work that we're doing matters.
What makes it so worth it is that opportunity to really help them avoid the pain of abortion and to really see the opportunity to help men and women change the trajectory of their lives.
God created each and every individual in His image and with a purpose. So we want to be able to support these women as best we can. And so to me, that is worth it, getting to fight for this kingdom cause.
When you think about putting a price on helping these women choose life, every dollar that you give, it goes somewhere intentional.
It's not taken lightly. Everything is done in prayer.
When you're giving to a ministry like the Forward Pregnancy Center, you're not just giving money, you're giving to life change.
The scriptures are real clear. Where your treasure is, that's where your heart will be. Worthy causes for the kingdom are worth not only my time and my energy, but also my financial resources.
To support this organization is to support life that sends a message to our culture, to Fort Worth, that life at all places at all times has value. What a beautiful thing to put your time and resources behind.
So you all heard me talk a little bit about the explosive growth we've seen in being able to serve fathers of the babies and just how important it is to be able to serve the mom and the dad together. So I just wanted to invite up for a minute one of our female client advocates and one of our male client advocates to tell you a quick story about what happens when a guy and a girl come in and they are not on the same page. Let me introduce Alex and Kristen.
Good evening. I'm a real person. I don't just appear on video. Well, thank you, Jamie. And at your Fort Worth Pregnancy Center, we love babies. But we also love the entire family unit. The men and women walking through our center will feel that love the moment a male and female client advocate engage them in a conversation, each in their own appointment. Kristen and I are here this evening to share with you the story of Chase and Amira as an example of how a male and female advocates work together to change the trajectory of an entire family unit. See, Chase was surprised but excited when he first found out about their pregnancy. And in my appointment with Chase, he shared with me how excited he was, how ready he was to be a dad, yet at the same time, he knew that his girlfriend still had hopes and dreams and plans to pursue. In addition to all of that, they were getting ready to move. This pregnancy just wasn't at the right time for them. And so the two of them talked about it, and they briefly talked about abortion, and ultimately, Chase left it up to Amira to decide. And as I listened to Chase and his excitement and his joy, but also his concerns, I talked with him and I encouraged him. And we talked about what an abortion entails, negative emotions that can come, the relationship problems that they might experience. And I encouraged him to advocate for the pregnancy, to advocate for their baby. And we talked about his faith in Jesus. We prayed together. And that afternoon, Chase received the help and the encouragement he needed to support Amira in her pregnancy.
So when Amira and I sat down in the counseling room, the first thing I sensed was a lot of uncertainty. We talked about her particular circumstances, and she described for me her plans for the future. Pursuing an education, having a stable career, working on her relationship. And a pregnancy did not fit into those plans. We explored her options about pregnancy, parenting, adoption, and abortion, and the realities of each of those choices and how none of those are easy. We discussed that she did have a good support system, her parents, her relationship, her friends, trying to focus on the positives for choosing life. We also got to talk about her spiritual background. I found that she had a desire to grow her faith, and she wanted to return to church with Chase. I encouraged her that God knew her future, and his plans for her were not for harm, but were for hope and for a good future. And that though this pregnancy was unplanned and unexpected for her, they were not outside of God's plans. That he would be with her and he would provide for her as she walked forward with this pregnancy.
So a couple of days after that, I followed up with Chase, and I texted him and said, hey, man, how's it going? How's the pregnancy? And have y'all talked about things? And he's like, yeah, I think we're going to keep it. And they're in the process of getting an OB appointment and trying to apply for Medicaid. And so things were going well. And then about a month after that, Chase texted me in a panic. And he told me, man, Alex, I got bad news for you, man. It's not good. Amira had made up her mind. See, fears and anxiety had gotten the best of her, and she has made up her mind to abort. I asked Chase to call me, and we talked and we discussed, and I listened to his concern and his anger, his frustration, and I listened to the big fight that they had. And I told Chase, you got to get Amira to call us. And so he said, yeah, I'll do the best that I can. And then in the meanwhile, I talked to Kristen about a conversation.
So when I talked with Alex, I was pretty surprised because when me and Amira had finished talking, although she still said that she was not quite sure, she seemed a lot more at peace. So we decided that I would go ahead and call her, and I asked her how she was doing. She sounded extremely defeated. It was night and day from our last counseling appointment. She shared that she could not go through with this pregnancy, and she had already scheduled an appointment for an abortion at an abortion clinic out of state. She had been rejected by Medicaid and feared that she would not be able to provide for her child or herself without it. I told her about alternate resources that we have for applying for insurance and gave her a contact that would work with her, that night even if she needed. Amira listened without saying much. Every so often she'd say, okay, in a very quiet voice. I remember the Lord speaking to my heart, and I told her, I feel like you are wrestling between your faith and your fear. God still has a plan for your future. Medicaid denying you has not changed that. He did not give you this baby for you to fail and be without provision. I asked her to hold off on her abortion decision, to try insurance one more time. She said that she would try, and we got off the phone. And over the next few days, the staff and our prayer partners prayed for Amira and Chase, and we waited on the Lord.
A few days after that, Amira texted us, and she told us how much better she felt, the hope that she received, and encouragement she got from the team. And then she told us that she has canceled her abortion appointment. But their story didn't stop there. A couple months ago, I called Chase and said, hey, man, how's it going? How's the pregnancy? And he's like, hey, man, I'm working hard. I'm working this job. And he's preparing for his growing family. Our team continued to follow up with Amira, and Amira told our staff that her family was planning a baby shower for her, and also that she has signed up for our online prenatal course. Her baby is going to be here in December. Your giving will empower more moms like Amira to find hope and help at a time of stress and scariness, at a time when they need it most. And because of you, donors like you, more moms and dads like Amira and Chase can be empowered to choose life. They are worth it. Thank you.
All right, I got just one more story for you. Well, it's really kind of two stories in one. My biggest joy of working at the center is getting to see God move, see him absolutely transform lives of women and families. And in the past year, I had 2 separate clients that had pretty similar stories, very different pregnancy outcomes, but both of them were such a clear example of God's goodness and grace and the level of love and care that he has for these precious daughters. So first, Beatrice. When Beatrice came in, she was unexpectedly pregnant. She was devastated by the news, and the father of the baby was sitting in our lobby frantically trying to book her an abortion appointment in Kansas while I was talking to her. She didn't know anybody in this area except for him, and she was barely making ends meet. And she told me in our appointment that she actually didn't believe in abortion. She knew it was a taking of life, and she thought it was wrong, and she shouldn't do it, but what other choice did she possibly have? She had no support. She couldn't even pay her bills, and the baby daddy was out there booking her an abortion appointment. Oh, because by the way, he was married and going back to his wife in Mexico in just a few short weeks. So that's a situation that Beatrice was in. And I promised her that she was not alone. And we talked about her faith. And I promised her that God was going to provide for her and that he had a plan for her and for this baby. But she was pretty darn scared, and I understand why. Still, she agreed to a sonogram. The sonogram kind of changed everything for her when she saw her baby, especially when she said when she heard the heartbeat. It really just melted her heart to want to be able to say yes to this baby. She called me a couple days later and she said, Jamie, actually she said, Yami, I want to have this baby, and I want you to help me do it. And I said, absolutely. That's what we're going to do. And after that, things got really hard. She told this guy that she was not going to her abortion appointment, and he kicked her out of their apartment. She's calling me. She's living in her car in the middle of winter. The window doesn't roll up. Every single resource I'm trying to find for her, from housing to getting her insurance to getting some health care, everything was just falling through. But I was talking to her on the phone almost every day, and I kept trying to encourage her with scripture and saying, God has a plan. I know he does. He has a plan for you. He has a plan for this baby. I don't know what it is, but I know he has one. And then God moved. I found this little church right up the street from where she was working. And I called and talked to the pastor and said, would you welcome Beatrice? And he said, of course. And the next Sunday, she was in church being surrounded by the hands and feet of Jesus. And that little church became a refuge for her, became a solution. She moved in with one of the ladies from the church. She got super involved in the church. Matter of fact, she even invited me to her baptism there at the church, which was really special for me. We threw her a huge baby shower, again, making sure she had so much stuff. She had stuff left over she brought back to donate to other moms. That's how she ended up. And after her baby was born, we even gave her surprise newborn photo shoot. Little Maylin. I got to go to her church, like I said, for that baptism and meet the other women that have surrounded her in love. She has such a great community there. She's given her life to the Lord. She's just overflowing with gratitude for what God has done in her life. Every time I see her, all she can talk about is how great God is. And he is. He really, really is. And she stops by so I can see how big little Maylin's getting. And it just reminds me that no matter how big our challenges are, our God is bigger. Then I had another client, Victoria. Very similar story. Didn't know anybody in the area. Father of the baby is high pressuring her to have an abortion. When she came in, just no hope at all. I could see it in her eyes. There was no hope. And she was also caring for a 2- and 6-year-old and renting a room from the guy that had got her pregnant. And again, I offered her resources. I prayed with her. I encouraged her. You are not alone in this. You can do this. Your God is bigger. We're going to walk with you. Talked to her on the phone a lot those following days. And then one day, I got a text message that broke my heart. She was at the abortion clinic. My mind's made up, she said. And I tried to plead with her because, again, she told me, I don't believe in abortion. God's going to be mad at me. All these things she would say. I don't want to do this, but I feel like I have no choice. I knew that this was really going to hit her hard if she went through with this decision, because I could tell how conflicted she was. And she did. She did have an abortion that day. And over the next few days, the text messages that I got from her, I mean, they just continue to break my heart. I'll never be the same. I wish I could disappear. This mistake will never go away. I can't sleep. I feel empty inside. So many heartbreaking text messages. I would get on the phone and I would just pray for her and she would just cry. And then God moved. I found a little church right up the street from where she was living. I called the pastor and his wife and said, would you welcome Victoria? She really needs some people to love on her right now. And they called her and invited her to church and even went by and picked her up that Sunday to come to church. And the next day, that Monday, the text messages I got from her were completely different. Jamie, I went to church. I liked it a lot, especially the worship. I prayed to receive Christ, and the pastor and the congregation prayed for me. God told me I am not condemned. He is my refuge. I'm going to put God first and keep going to church. And I've talked to her several times since then, and that is exactly what she's doing. She's letting the Lord work his healing in her life. And even though her pregnancy decision was not what we would have hoped and was certainly not God's plan, he is sovereign to work through these situations and these decisions for their good and his glory. And that's what I get the pleasure of seeing. So what I want to do tonight, just to kind of bring it to life, there's a lot of candles throughout this room. And we strategically picked the number. I'd like to have the people in charge of the lights, get it as dark in here as you can. As you look around this room, each of these candles represents a woman this year at the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center who came in vulnerable, at risk, considering ending the life of her child, but who was given hope and chose life. And that's really what we're trying to do is shine the light of Jesus into the darkness of Fort Worth. And so each of these candles is a light that is still burning, that child that might not have been here today that is. And after you give, we're going to have you light some candles, and we're going to see what kind of impact we can make here tonight. I think we can bring the lights back up. I know that God speaks to us. He breaks our hearts for the things that break his. He puts love and concern in our hearts for the things he loves and the things that he's concerned with. And we believe that the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center, and by extension all of you, are called to bring that light into Fort Worth. And so tonight you're going to have an opportunity to partner with us to make that happen. There are blue envelopes on the tables that the hosts will hopefully find and pass out. And as you'll see in the envelopes, there's a little card for each person or couple that's here that we want you to fill out, and there's two sides to the card. The first side is for what your special gift will be tonight. And again, I really encourage you to talk and pray and see what the Lord is leading you to do. We've talked about some things at the center and what they cost. You know, $5,000 for a month of sonography, for example, of our sonography room. The other side is the life sustainer side, where you get a chance to say, I'm going to have a recurring gift, and what's that going to look like? And think about what the Lord is calling you to do there. For example, we talked about how $450 a month basically pays for the ads to get 10 women, at-risk women a month, into the doors of the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center. No matter what you're doing tonight, we'd like you to go ahead and fill out the card. Even if you want to do a non-cash gift, maybe you're doing stock or a charitable distribution, a DAF or something like that, you can write it on there and our team will follow up with you. But sometimes glitches happen online, and we want your intentions tonight to be very clear. And those of you that are already life sustainers, this applies to you too. I mentioned there's a special match. So a very generous donor of the center said, I want to spur recurring giving. So he said he is going to match up to $50,000 all life sustainer gifts that come in that are new life sustainers or people that give at a certain level now, but you're increasing it. He's going to double what that increase amount is. So any life sustainer gifts that happen tonight, the impact is twice as far. And of course, the other reason you'll want to do it is for a onesie. We have a special gift tonight. The doors are going to be open back there after the program, and if you are a life sustainer or became a life sustainer, we want you to go back there and custom order your onesie. They'll probably make it right in front of you there and give it to you tonight. Something for you to take home, give to somebody, whatever you choose. That's just our way of saying thank you for partnering with us as a life sustainer. And table host, just a reminder, I think there's an attendee card in there too. It's a good chance to kind of just check off who was here. Finally, one last thing, because I don't want to forget to say this, because the marketing manager, that's me, will be mad at me. You have to post your pictures on Instagram and Facebook to our FWPC Friends page and not our client page. All right. So as we give, we picked a song. It's a song I love. It's Gratitude by Brian Lake, because really that is why we're all giving, out of gratitude for what God has done for us and the price he has paid. So go ahead and listen to that song as you give.
Amen. What an incredible opportunity. We're going to ask the crew to darken the room, and if you'll grab one of those candles, if you gave tonight, would you lift those candles up as a signifying of life that we're praying that God would use in the day to come. Go ahead and lower those all the way. There we go. Let's give the Lord a hand clap. Amen. Amen. We are so glad that you came tonight. We're glad for your generous support. Thank you for the unborn. As we opened sharing, the thief does come to steal, kill, and destroy, and we've heard how he's seeking to do that in Fort Worth. But tonight, you have made an investment in life that is abundant for families and for babies. Thank you for making a difference in the lives of thousands of babies and mamas that we're praying God would send in the next year. A few clarifying announcements, and then we will be dismissed to the party outside. If you'll bring up those lights once again, we'll do that. As Jamie explained, if you're a life sustainer, there's an opportunity to design your own onesie, and you can take that, you can get a card, and when it's ready, pick it up and take that with you, or you can choose to donate it back to the Fort Worth Pregnancy Center, and they will give it to a baby and donate it to them as well. I want to thank you once again. The 8x10 photos on your table are provided by our friends at Cubes Jewelers. So thank you for that and for donating that. And there are yours as table host to take. Fort Worth Pregnancy Center team will be available at the Pregnancy Center table. If you have further questions or want to get to talk with them more, stop by to learn more about how you can volunteer or be a part in that way or other ways. Your valet tonight is complimentary, courtesy of our friends at NB Motors. And so thank you to them. Leaving a tip for the valet is at your discretion. If you'd like to take some pictures, stop by one of the photo stations as well, provided by our friends at Thigby. And thank you for doing that. You're utilities expert. So let's get the party started. Sponsored by our friends at Good Contractors Roofing and Restoration. And let's end with a word of prayer as we go. Father, tonight has been yours. Every story has been for your glory. The work that the entire staff is doing is for your glory. And Lord, every dollar given, would you multiply it this year? Lord, would you take it, and as you have done so many times before, would you multiply it so that we might reach the changing needs of Fort Worth with the gospel through the Pregnancy Center. And Lord, in all things, you receive the glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Enjoy the complimentary beverages, the cookies, the onesie stations open. Let's party. Yeah, one more hand clap for the evening. You're dismissed.